Welcome to episode 254 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Laws Guy. It's July 12, 1998. Saint-Denis, Stade de France. World Cup final, France against Brazil. The host nation against the defending champions. Zinedine Zidane against Ronaldo. Except for a few chaotic minutes before kickoff, it looked as if Ronaldo wouldn't play at all. The first Brazil team sheet didn't have him in the starting 11. Then the sheet changed. Ronaldo was back. And a final that should already have been enormous, France's first World Cup final, Brazil chasing a fifth title, the biggest player in the world on the biggest stage, suddenly became something stranger. But how did we get here? Start with France. This was France's second time hosting the World Cup. The first was 1938. Back then, France lost in the quarterfinals to Italy. No final, no national coronation. After that, France had moments, great moments. In 1958, Just Fontaine scored 13 goals in one World Cup, still the record. In the early 1980s, Michel Platini led one of the most beautiful French midfields ever. Platini, Giresse, Tigana, and Fernandez. The Carré Magique, the magic square. They lost the 1982 World Cup semi-final to West Germany in Seville, in one of the most dramatic matches in French football history. We talked about that 4 days ago. Then, in 1984, France finally won something, at home, Euro 84. Platini scored 9 goals in 5 matches. France beat Spain in the final. The country saw what football could do when a French team on French soil stopped being elegant and became decisive. But the World Cup still resisted them. Semi-final again in 1986. Then the failure to qualify for 1990. Failure again for 94, after the collapse against Bulgaria on Judgment Night in November 1993, which I talked about way back in episode 17. So by 1998, France had talent, memory, wounds, and a public that was not entirely convinced. Aimé Jacquet was the coach, but he had been heavily criticized. Too cautious, too defensive, not romantic enough. His team was built from the back. Fabien Barthez in goal, Thuram, Desailly, Blanc, Lizarazu, Deschamps as captain and organizer, Carambeu and Petit as legs and discipline, Djorkaeff between the lines, and Zidane as the artist. And then a younger layer, Thierry Henry, David Trezeguet, Patrick Vieira, and Robert Pires. This was also a tournament built by organizers with history in the French game, Fernand Sastre and Michel Platini at the heart of the World Cup project, and the new Stade de France as the national stage. Now Brazil. Brazil arrived as the reigning champions. They had won in 94 with Dunga, Taffarel, Romário, Bebeto, a hard midfield, penalty nerves, and a very un-Brazilian reputation for pragmatism. In 98, many of the 94 figures are still there. Taffarel in goal, Cafu, Aldair, Dunga, Leonardo, Bebeto. And Ronaldo, who had been in the 94 squad as a teenager without playing, is now the face of football. Not one of the faces, the face. He's 21. FIFA World Player of the Year in 96 and 97, Ballon d'Or winner in 97, explosive at Barcelona, then Inter, power, pace, step-overs, finishing, chaos, the phenomenon, Il Fenomeno. By 98, Ronaldo is not simply Brazil's striker, he is the tournament's main attraction. And Brazil's route is turbulent, but strong. They beat Scotland, beat Morocco, then that weird loss to Norway from episode 235. Then the knockout rounds. Chile in the round of 16. Brazil win 4-1. Ronaldo scores twice. Denmark in the quarterfinal. Wild match. Brazil win 3-2. Netherlands in the semi-final. Ronaldo scores just after halftime. Kluivert equalizes late, and Brazil survive on penalties. Taffarel saves from Cocu and Ronald de Boer. France's route has its own drama. They win the group, even after Zidane is sent off against Saudi Arabia and suspended. Paraguay in the round of 16. Laurent Blanc scores the first golden goal in World Cup history. Italy in the quarterfinal. 0-0. Penalties. France survive. Croatia in the semi-final. Davor Suker scores, and suddenly the hosts are behind. But then Lilian Thuram, who basically never scores for France, scores twice. France 2, Croatia 1, and France in their first World Cup final. So the final has everything. Brazil's crown, France's home dream, Zidane's stage, Ronaldo's coronation. And then comes the afternoon. Brazil are staying at the Château de Grand Romain in Les Signy, outside Paris. After lunch, Ronaldo rests. What we now understand from later testimony and reporting is that he suffered a frightening convulsive episode. Teammates were alarmed. Ronaldo was taken for medical tests. And this is where 1998 matters. There is no X, no TikTok, no push alert, no leaked screenshots spreading around the world in 6 seconds. For most of us, this story arrived through television. A paper team sheet reached media and broadcasters, and suddenly the commentators had a problem. Ronaldo was not listed. Edmundo was starting. Imagine that in a living room in 1998. You're ready for the World Cup final. Brazil against France, Ronaldo against Zidane. Then the television tells you, actually, Ronaldo is out. But then, before kickoff, another twist. Brazil submit a revised team sheet. Ronaldo is back in the starting 11. How was that even allowed? The simplest answer is that a team sheet was not then what it feels like now, not a final public graphic pushed into a billion phones. It was an administrative document handled through match officials and media channels. And before kickoff, teams could still deal with player availability. Modern laws still recognize that a named starter can be replaced before kickoff, if necessary. In Paris, FIFA accepted Brazil's amended sheet. So Ronaldo plays. But the uncertainty has already entered the match, and once the game starts, France look clearer. Third minute, Stéphane Guivarc'h has a chance. Brazil have flashes. Ronaldo creates a little danger. Rivaldo moves. Roberto Carlos pushes. But France is sharper in midfield and calmer emotionally. 27th minute, corner from the right. Emmanuel Petit takes it. Zidane attacks the near post space. Header. France 1, Brazil 0. It is Zidane's first goal of the tournament, and that detail is perfect. The player who had been suspended earlier, criticized earlier, waiting earlier, chooses the World Cup final to arrive on the score sheet. Then, just before halftime, another corner. This time, Aimé Jacquet takes it. Zidane again. Header again. France 2, Brazil 0. The defending champions are in shock. Brazil make changes. Denilson comes on. Later, Edmundo comes on. Ronaldo gets one real chance, but is saved by Barthez. But he doesn't look like Ronaldo. That is the uncomfortable part. He is on the pitch, but not fully there. The acceleration, the violence, the certainty, all gone. Then France go down to 10 men. Marcel Desailly gets a second yellow in the 68th minute. If Brazil are going to come back, this is the opening. But they don't. France defend. Deschamps organizes. Desailly is gone, but the block holds. And in stoppage time, the final cut. Patrick Vieira releases Emmanuel Petit. Petit runs through and scores low past Tafarel. France 3, Brazil 0. Final whistle, Zidane on the shoulders, Deschamps lifting the trophy, Paris exploding. France are world champions. But so what? For France, July 12, 1998 changes the national team forever. Before this night, France were a football country with great players and old scars. After this night, they belong on the top shelf. The phrase around the team becomes Black Blanc Beur, Black White Arab, a shorthand for multicultural France. It was celebratory, powerful, and later maybe too simple for the deeper realities of French society. But in that summer, it mattered. Thuram, Zidane, Desailly, Carambeu, Henry, Vieira, Jacquet, Lizarazu, Deschamps. The team looked like modern France lifting a trophy in front of itself. Then France proved it was not just one summer. Euro 2000, they win again. World champions, then European champions. And Zidane's French story becomes one of the great arcs. 1998, 2 headers, national icon. 2006, the Panenka, the headbutt, the red card, the walk past the trophy. We talked about that sad exit on the show only 3 days ago. Same player, 2 World Cup finals, 2 completely different endings. Deschamps' arc may be even longer. Captain in 1998, manager in 2018, World Cup winner as player and as coach, finalist in 2022, still the French manager in 2026, with Kylian Mbappe as captain, and France still one of the teams everyone measures themselves against. That is the 98 legacy. It did not only give France a trophy, it gave France a standard. For Brazil, the damage was real, but not permanent. 1998 became trauma. Ronaldo's illness, the team sheet chaos, the flat performance, the theories, medical, commercial, psychological, conspiratorial, Brazil even had political and institutional investigations afterward because the country could not accept that the final had become so strange. But Brazil's answer was the most Brazilian possible answer. 4 years later, Ronaldo returns from injuries that could have ended him. World Cup 2002, 8 goals, Golden Boot, 2 in the final against Germany. Brazil win their 5th World Cup. So 98 becomes not the end of Ronaldo's story, but the wound that makes 2002 feel like redemption. Still, Paris changed the conversation. It forced football to ask a question that has only become more important. When a superstar is medically compromised, who decides? The player, the coach, the doctor, the federation, the sponsor, the country? Modern football is more structured now. Concussion protocols are stronger. Medical staffers have more visible authority. Heat rules, hydration breaks, cardiac emergency planning, and player welfare systems are all more developed than they were in the 1990s. But the deeper tension has not disappeared. Elite sports still ask players to be heroic at precisely the moment when someone may need to protect them from themselves. That is why Ronaldo's afternoon still matters. Not because every conspiracy theory is true. Most are not supported by hard evidence, but because the known facts are already dramatic enough. A 21-year-old superstar suffered a serious medical episode hours before the World Cup final. He was first out of the team, then back in. Then he played badly in the 3-0 defeat. And that is enough mystery for one lifetime. Before we go, 3 things to take away from July 12, 1998. First, France's win was not just about Ronaldo's condition. France were excellent, organized, brave, strong, and decisive in the moments Brazil could not defend. Second, Zidane's 2 headers changed his life. He had not scored in the tournament before this final. Then he scored twice in the biggest match France had ever played. And third, Ronaldo's mystery is not only a medical story. It is a story about pressure, modern celebrity, national expectation, sponsors, doctors, and the terrifying power of a World Cup final to turn a private health crisis into global theater. On this day in 1998, France beat Brazil 3-0 at the Stade de France. Zinedine Zidane scored twice, Emmanuel Petit finished it, France became world champions for the first time, and Ronaldo's lost afternoon became one of the great unresolved stories in World Cup history. That is all for episode 254 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Law Sky. If you like this show, please rate it 5 stars so it can keep climbing the charts and we can welcome new listeners to OTD. Tomorrow, we go all the way back to the beginning of the World Cup, July 13, 1930, France against Mexico, the first match in World Cup history. See you then.